Good evening, chefs. Welcome to my home. Welcome to my kitchen again. If you don't know me, my name is Chef Egner. I'm one of the culinary instructors at Middletown High School. Tonight we're going to be talking about clarified butter. I'm going to tell you what it is, the applications for it, and most importantly, how we make it. All right, so we're all familiar with butter. Butter is a huge staple in the restaurant, in our kitchens. You probably have butter at home. In the restaurant, you'll buy a ton of it. You go through a ton of it. It's in almost everything. All right, so first we're going to start with what butter is and how we buy it. If you want to come in here, I'll just show you my mise en place set up here. So we're going to be making clarified butter. I have my bowls, my spoons, my pots, everything ready to go. So we don't have to waste time looking for all of our stuff as we're going along. All right, so first we're going to talk about butter, how we buy it, what it is. All right, so you can see here, this butter, it's a pound of butter. It says unsalted. It's important to buy unsalted butter. In the grocery stores, you can buy salted or unsalted. You want to get unsalted because as a chef, you want to be able to control the seasonings and how much flavor your ingredients have. Now, when you buy butter, it's going to go in some savory dishes. If you make your own desserts or your own pastries, if you have a delicate cake, you'll probably put a little pinch of salt in there, but you want to be able to control that. So you don't want the butter company telling you how much salt's going to be in your food. So buy unsalted butter. All right, we're going to start out with a pound of butter. When you buy it in the restaurant, most times you'll get a whole pound. It's just like a block. I already took the sticks out, so this one here is empty. When you buy it home, you probably have 4 sticks of butter. We already know, we've talked about 1 pound of butter is 1 pound is 2 cups. So when it's broken down into 4 sticks of butter, it's already measured out for us. We know that 1 stick of butter is half a cup. All right, so I'm going to get started here. I pulled out my butter a little while ago, so it's going to be soft for us to get started. If it's hard, I'm just going to drop this butter right into the pan here because it's already soft. If it's hard butter, if you pull it, sometimes you keep it in the freezer if you buy a lot in the restaurant. Sometimes if it's just coming out of the refrigerator, you want to cut it up into smaller chunks. The more surface area that you have in the pot, the faster that it's going to melt for you. All right, so now let's talk about our pots and pans. This is a large pot. I have some going here because I know you don't want to wait for me to boil, or you don't want to wait for me to melt down butter. So I got this one going, but I just want to talk about pots. When you buy pots and pans, you want to make sure that it has a nice heavy bottom to it. Some of the ones with the real thin bottoms that can burn the butter when you're melting it down, that's exactly what we don't want to do here, all right? So we're going to use a smaller pot, or you want to use a pot for however much butter you're going to use. So in the restaurant, you might be clarifying 10 pounds of butter. Today, we're just going to clarify about a cup. All right, so when we clarify butter, essentially what we are doing, butter is made up of 2 parts. Butter is made up of milk solids, and butter is made up of butter fats. All right, so we're going to separate the milk solids from the butter fat. All right, so to get started, I'm just going to open my butter up here. Again, this is real soft. If it was a little harder, you can cut it up into chunks, put it in there. All right, I'm going to drop it right in my pan. All right, and I'm just doing this. I already have some getting started. I just have this going to show you that there are no other ingredients in clarified butter except butter. All right, so we're going to get our butter going. I'm going to drop that in the pan. I'm going to put this on low heat. What's that? Low heat. All right, so we're going to put this on low heat here. We don't want to boil it. All right, now as this melts down, since I got this going here, I'm going to show you what this is going to look like. All right, so we may have all seen, excuse me, we may have all seen separated butter and what that is. We can see on the top here, we have some white foamy stuff. That is part of the milk solids. Then we have our liquid gold. That's our clarified butter. And then as we go down on the bottom, I'll show you as we start skimming. We're going to have more white. That's more the milk solids that we're keeping out. So why do we want clarified butter? What is that going to do for us? If we were sauteing with butter, we've all put a pat of butter in a frying pan or saute pan to start to cook our food. It sizzles very quickly. If we ever know that we walked away from it for just a few seconds, it can turn brown and then it'll get black. Brown butter can be okay, not for clarified butter, but brown butter is all right in some dishes. It's very popular in classic fall dishes. Maybe it'll be like squash or pumpkins with your brown butter, maybe some sage. But if you don't pull it after it turns brown, it's going to burn very quickly on you. So what clarified butter is, what burns in the butter is the milk solids. So we're just going to take the milk solids away to make sure that we don't burn our butter. All right. So we're going to have that nice buttery taste, but we're not going to burn it. All right. So come on in here. Check out what we're doing. I'm going to grab my spoon. I'm going to take this little dish here. All right. Now, any of these milk solids on top, any of the white stuff on top, I'm going to try to scoop those out a little bit. I don't have too much in here. I did this real slow and it sat. Once your butter melts, you're going to want to let it sit for about 5 minutes because more of those butter solids are going to sink to the bottom. So a lot of it is sunk in here. As this melts down, I'll come back and I'll show you what this is going to look like in a minute so we can see. All right, now after we scoop the top milk solids away, I'm going to grab another dish here. Now in the restaurant, a lot of times you'll probably just toss this. It's not bad to hang on to. You can put it in pancakes. You can toss it in with popcorn. If you're making rice, you can throw it in the rice and it'll give you a nice buttery taste. So you can still use it. There is an application for it. But if we're sauteing something in a pan, we don't want it. All right, so now I got my top skimmed off. So now you can see I just have that yellow butter fat in there. So I'm going to take another container and I'm going to take this other, I'm going to use this glass measuring cup here. I'm going to slowly pour it in. All right. As we do that, as we get down to the bottom, we're going to see all the white that's still in there. So all this white here, that's more of the milk solids. So that's what's going to burn. So now we've separated it out, so we can see we have those white milk solids, and then we have the nice clear clarified butter. Now at this point, I like this. I think this is pretty good. I would keep it this way, but as we're learning and as we're starting to make clarified butter, if we get a lot of those milk solids into it, what we can do, I have another dish here with some cheesecloth. We can pour our clarified butter in to the dish with the cheesecloth. All right, and the clarified butter is going to go right through that cheesecloth, and it's going to catch any of the other milk solids, so we can pull that out. All right, and it's just going to be a fine strainer. So any of those other, you can see I got a couple in there, those milk solids. We're going to pull those out, and then we have a nice, clean, and strained out clarified butter. All right, now I'm going to come back to this in 1 second. Come on over here. You can check out this pot. You can see how butter is almost melted, but we can see how when we're just starting to do it, we have these milk solids on top. So you can go through and start to pull those out as it's going, or as it's working. We can pull those off the top first, and then as it sits for about 5 minutes or so, those milk solids are going to sink down to the bottom. All right, so that's about it. That's clarified butter. So you might hear it called a few different names in the restaurant or in the kitchen. We call it clarified butter. You might hear it called drawn butter. If you're eating crabs out in the summertime and you dip your crabs in the drawn butter, it's just clarified butter. If any of you are big into Indian cuisine, or as you're going through this weekend and you're boning up on your international cuisine and you're reading through 50 cookbooks this weekend, if you see anything that says ghee, the letters are G-H-E-E. Ghee is another term for clarified butter. It's a major ingredient in Indian cooking. So I saw a few of you put in that you like Indian cooking in your discussion board. So if you see ghee, that's another term for clarified butter. All right, so this is it. It measures out the same. If a recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of butter, you just use 2 tablespoons of clarified butter. That's fine. It's going to solidify once we put it in our refrigerator. Once we throw it back in the saute pan, just take a spoon out, put it in our saute pan to get sauteing in. It's just going to melt out, it'll come out just like this. You can keep it in the refrigerator for about 3 weeks or so, just as long as you would keep any butter in the refrigerator. You can freeze it if you want to freeze it. But that's it. It's clarified butter, and this is a major ingredient that we will be using in our industrial kitchen. Thank you for joining me, and have a great weekend.